Hey Facebook, happy Saturday. Hope you've had a good day today. Weather's getting pretty crazy here. We're getting a lot of rain just around the way. We've actually just driven back about from an hour away and drove through a lot of heavy rain, and we can hear some thunder and lightning going off. So I think we're going to get wet here tonight. So anyway, I hope your Saturday's been going well. Today I just wanted to touch on to a short thing around time. Okay, so the title of this, Time is on Our Side. Yes, it is. How we think about time has a big impact on us. So I wanted to just share with you a couple of examples of that. I have blogged about this on the blog before, so if you've read my blog, maybe you've heard some of this, but hopefully not all of it. Anyway, let's go with it. So if I hold my finger up, let's put my finger in space here, and I say, this is lunch, right? Right here, this finger. And then I ask you, where is dinner, like your evening meal and breakfast? Now, if you've grown up reading left to right, then most likely your answer is going to be, I'm just trying to figure this out with the flipped camera, but on the left will be breakfast and then towards dinner. So on a horizontal axis, and you'll be thinking that the day moves as breakfast, lunch, dinner from left to right. That's my left to right. If it's backwards in this video, yeah, you'll figure it out. But what they have shown is if you do this same experiment with people who read like Asian script that's written top to bottom, then breakfast and dinner goes like this. It's crazy, hey? So interesting, isn't it? So the same kind of thing. There was a story, could be an urban legend, but it's a good story. We're thinking about of, I think it was Nestle or one of the big companies that released baby formula into Arab-speaking nations, and on the side of their tin they had three images that went from left to right, and the first one was a swaddled infant. The second one was I think they were a teddy bear, so it was like a swaddled teddy bear, a crawling teddy bear, and then a walking teddy bear. Now it makes sense if you're an English speaker and reader and you read left to right. You think, well, we've got a swaddled baby, and then we've got a crawling baby, then we've got a walking baby. But if we turn that around and left to right to left, then you think, well, I've got a walking baby, then I've got a crawling baby, then I've got a swaddled baby as the baby died. So bit of a whoopsie there. So how we conceptualize space and time, because we're talking about time like dinner and lunch, and this process and progress of moving from being an infant to crawling to walking. One of the things in our westernized culture is we do think of time very much in a linear kind of fashion. Another example is if I said to you, where would you think the future is if you sort of standing and looking? I imagine you would probably say, the future's out there somewhere. The future's in front of us. The future is yet to come. One study that I heard of, I think it's people up in Papua New Guinea, when they talk about the future, when they talk about seeing someone again, I think it is, and then they say, here's looking at the back of your head, is kind of the literal interpretation of what they say. And why that is because that's where the future is. Because you haven't seen the future yet. So because you haven't seen it, it's actually behind you. We are shaped and impacted by things like how we process language and how we process space. Another example of the space one, just while I'm going, is they did a study where you sit people down and ask them to organise a set of objects in a particular order. Now, no matter which direction you had the person facing who was coming from an English-speaking perspective, they would always sort them left to right. So if I'm facing this way, they'd be left to right this way. But if I was facing the other way, they'd be left to right that way because I'm turned around. Where they did this with some of the Aboriginal cultures that still think in north, south, east and west very predominantly. And depending on which way they were facing, that would change how the items were organised relative to the space they were facing. So there's some really cool stuff out there that you can find on this thing. But what I wanted to just draw attention to out of this is, often when we think about time from our westernized perspective, we prioritise the idea of time moving along a plane. We kind of draw our graphs of time moving in a direction. We're going somewhere. We're going towards something, and time is linear and heading out in a direction. And I think that's one way to look at time. We can see time in that sense, and understand that from our background. But I think another way that we need to not lose sight of is the cyclic nature of time. So, like the seasons that repeat, the days that repeat. Each day the sun comes up, the sun goes down, and then that happens again the next day, sun comes up, sun goes down. And so a lot of cultures would think in very cyclic kind of ways about how time was understood. And I think there's value in that as well, and maybe we need to make sure we don't lose sight of that. And I think particularly in the church space, one way that the church has lost sight of that in some respects, the sort of more, probably like your more modern churches that aren't following some kind of liturgy, is that the church, we kind of have Easter and we might have Christmas, but we're not necessarily travelling in a cyclic pattern throughout the year that over the years shapes us as particular people that go through different seasons in the Christian calendar and walk and those kind of things. So I think there's incredible value in those seasonal and that repetitive cyclic concepts of faith, because it does play a big role, I think, in how we should understand that we're not just on a journey somewhere, but we're actually in a process here. It's not just about progress and moving forward, but it's also about being in the moments and absorbing those moments and really not wanting to be just heading towards something better all the time, which is how we can often view things from our Western perspective when it comes to time. So time, it's on your side. Yes, it is. Well, maybe it's not. Who knows? We don't know. I think time's a really cool concept that we struggle to unpack and understand. So I hope that gives you something to chew on. If you've enjoyed it, give it a like, give it a thumbs up. If you think someone else would enjoy it, tag them in below. Give it a share if you want. It's great to have you dropping by and listening in. I appreciate those that do. And I'll see you again tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm going to jump back onto my Media Theology Toolkit and talk about the next section. So make sure you tune in for that. And remember, if you've got any questions or queries, I wasn't real clear about some of the things in the other one, or you'd like to see that first chapter, don't forget to comment and I'll send that your way. Cool. All right, have a great Saturday evening. Catch you later.